Okay, Mr. Caesar, Darius, and Jacqueline Jackson, um, and whoever else is going to tune in a second. Just give them a chance to tune in. Okay. All right. So the subject of this training tonight, beginning subject, I guess you would say, is the workflow of dispatching, the process from a beginner dispatcher as they get a carrier, a truck driver, an owner operator under a dispatcher agreement to move loads for them, find those loads, book those loads, and invoice the dispatcher. Invoice the carrier. So what is that process? What does all that entail? So, okay. So the first thing is I'm going to do a role play. I may have a participant, I may not, but I'm going to walk through the whole process. So the first thing is whatever method or step that you use to reach out to the carrier, or even before that, deciding which type of carrier based off of our training that we go after, namely the dry van, the flatbed, or the reefer, right? So let's say, for example, we decided on a dry van carrier. So we would call that person up, or whatever method we would use for that. So whatever method we would use to reach that carrier, whether it's going to the truck stop, we happen to get into a conversation with them, or if it was cold calling or whatever other method. What's up, Robert? So say we say, okay, the guy say, okay, yeah, send me your information. So if you do not have a website set up, and if you're just getting your business started, you do not have a website set up, the easiest way to send your dispatcher agreement and your profile to the carrier is via the email. Attach a PDF document to an email and send it to that person. This is what I used to do a long time ago. I would open up an email, and I'm gonna use one of my other emails and pretend it's the email of a carrier that I'm going to send a dispatcher agreement to, and I'm going to show you what I put in the body of the email as an example. So I would compose an email. I'm in my Exodus email, so my Exodus email in this example will be the email of the dispatcher, and then my other email will be the email of the carrier. Okay, so I'm going to send it to my other email, and I usually put in the subject. This is literally what I used to do a long time ago when I first sent out dispatcher agreements and profiles. So someone would ask me the question the other day, well, what's the workflow? What's the whole process, the workflow? So here's the first step. After you've gotten past getting the carrier to agree to say, yeah, I want you to be my dispatcher, send me your information. So however method you used to get to that point, whether it was cold calling, truck stops, whatever method you use and whatever equipment type you decided, you finally got a hold of a carrier, and that person said, yeah, I need a dispatcher. Let's see if we can find loads together. So, and prior to you having an email, you just got your business set up. You're freshly starting as a freight dispatcher. So here we go. Dispatcher, I formulate my email in my dispatcher email, and I'm going to pretend my other email is my carrier that I'm sending to email. I put the subject line dispatcher. I'm so used to putting dispatcher one-on-one training, dispatcher agreement, and carrier profile. And then I attach. I'm going to go into order where I would attach the dispatcher agreement and the profile to it. Now, also stop me whenever you guys have a question or interrupt, interject, or however. So I'll attach my profile and my dispatch agreement 10%. When I have a 7%, I even have a Hispanic dispatcher agreement now because I am targeting. There's a lot of owner operators out there who are Hispanic, and I actually have a dispatcher that I'm training that's coming under Exodus, who will be the translator for the Latino or the Hispanic owner operator community. So I attach the profile and the dispatcher agreement to the email. And in the body of the email, it's like, well, what do I say? So under the same folder that I was at, I thought I left it open. Let's see, folder, special training, agreements, email body, Exodus carrier email body. So this is what I would copy and paste inside the body of the email to kind of give an introduction of who I am or who I was. I didn't put the logo in, even though I'm going to highlight it, and then copy the whole thing. And let me minimize these and paste it into the body of the email. So when I emailed it to the carrier, they were able to see this. So they'll read this, a little bit about you, how much money you need to move your truck. Or you can put any heading or mantra or any phrase that'll catch their attention, because I would send it out freshly after I had that conversation with that person. They say, yeah, I want to send me your information. So the sooner you send it, the better, because it's still in their mind, it's still in their head. So this is what you want to keep in mind. And then you just greet yourself. I just say, greetings, my name is. You put your name is, Dispatcher X or whatever, independent freight dispatcher with your company name. Now, if you like, those who are new and just coming into freight dispatching, and you need like a template to use to put in the body of the email that you're going to be sending to the potential carrier that you're going to get set up with a dispatcher agreement, just type in your email address into the chat, and I'll be more than happy to send you a copy of this one, and you can tweak it. You can put it in a Word document, and you can tweak it how you see fit for your particular dispatching business. But you may not want to say all of this. You may not have all the information to put here yet. You may not have a website. I got a website, a business email, phone number, things like that. But in the body, you just basically introducing yourself. I specialize in finding the freight that you want for the rate that you need. You can word it differently to get their attention. I'm not sure. I don't think this one is in the back office. I may, you know what, that's a good idea. I may, for those of you who are logging in as guests on the site and want it, but I may add this to the back office as an extra in the forms and documents area, where you can copy the information and use it as a template. So that's a good one, Robert. I can do that as well. So where were we? Having relationships with brokers and shippers can help in this regard. Basically, I specialize in finding the freight that you want for the rate that you need. So you basically tell them what they want to hear. You finding them the freight that they want for as much money as they need. And in having relationships with, and you tell them how you do it. Having relationships with brokers and shippers can help in this regard, along with several load board resources, which is what we have. I assist with carrier packet completion, receiving and verifying rate confirmations, and even invoicing for you if you like that service as well, unless you deal with a factoring company yourself. My pricing scheme for my service is as follows, and then I put rate for a low 10% fee. Now you can tweak this however you like. Again, Does anyone have any questions about this first paragraph? Any clarity needs to be gone over? So I want to make sure that we, it's just an email. It's just a body of an email stating who you are as an independent freight dispatcher and the type of service that you will be providing to that potential carrier with whom you're getting under a dispatcher agreement. Okay. So much that people are trying to get. How my goal is to be for 2 years. Like this. Let people know training is going on now. So that's the first paragraph in the body. Okay. Hello, 918-819 area code. Who are you a guest or just want to make sure that we greet?
Yeah, I'm a guest.
What's your name?
I'm a guest. Vincent Lee.
He's Vincent?
Yeah.
How'd you hear about us?
I've seen you on YouTube a few times.
And you are in the transportation industry?
Yes, I am.
What do you do?
I'm not a carrier. I'm actually a broker.
Oh, okay. Well.
But I wanted to find out a little bit more about dispatching.
Okay. Well, it's good to have a broker here. We can get a broker's perspective on the industry and some questions answered. We have a real live broker. I mean, have you had your bond and your authority for a while, or you just got started, or?
No, yeah, don't over represent me. No, I'm a new broker. I haven't had my authority for very long. But my background really is just in sales. It has nothing to do with transportation industry, so I've got a lot to learn. I've been learning since pretty much last year.
Okay.
So
I'm assuming that. Okay, so I'm assuming that the stage that you are at, as far as a new broker, is I'm assuming trying to get those shippers with a broker shipper agreement and getting them on board to your brokerage.
Yeah, that's a good part of it. Honestly, I found that getting the shippers isn't too bad. It does take a lot of work. It does take a lot of calls. There is a lot of rejection. So as long as you can get over those hurdles, finding the shippers isn't horrible. I don't know how to say it. You still have to put in 1,000 calls to get maybe a shipper or two. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's not easy. It takes a lot of effort. That said, once you do have the shippers, because I'm a new broker, finding good carriers to work with me and being willing to work with you if you don't have a credit rating that shows up on the DAT load board or something like that, it's another beast. So then you have that side of the sales process as well and establishing those relationships. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Okay. So finding the carriers. Now, what about carriers that are good carriers, but their MCs are kind of young too? Now, do you offer an opportunity to move loads with those types of carriers?
I would love to partner up. I think it's a great idea to partner up with new carriers and new brokers and kind of work with one another in order to build your business.
Right.
I don't particularly see a problem with that. I have to have my bond in place and have my general liability insurance, and I think carriers need to have their insurances all in place and that type of thing. But as long as everybody checks out and we're upfront and honest with one another and communicative and willing to respond when people are asking questions and stuff, I think it's great opportunity.
Okay, because we have plenty of dispatchers in our network who have carriers who are looking for brokers to find loads with. Do you service dry-van, flatbed, and reefer equipment types, or what equipment types do you have loads for?
Sure. So I'm still building my niche, and I don't have one per se. It's kind of all over the board.
Okay.
I do have some dry van freight. I was trying to get covered today. Some of it was coming from undesirable areas because as a new broker, that's what you get a lot of.
Right.
You get a lot of, just entry-level type of stuff. So I've got meat that's moving out of Arkansas that goes more towards the northeast, which could be pretty decent for reefers. But the freight isn't high paying. I don't know if that's just because that's across the board right now in the spot market. It seems to be for the last year that I guess that's kind of where it's at. But I know there's good freight out there. I don't have the best freight.
Right. And that comes in time, I guess. I mean, once you learn the demographics of the different areas and what it pays in that area going from west to east or east to west for a particular equipment type, then you can kind of strategize.
Yeah.
And you made a good point too about your niche. You know, which equipment type is moving the most freight, which equipment type is paying the most cents per mile. Once you find that out, and then what areas of the country those equipment types are paying the cents per mile, then you target shippers who are located in those areas and then go after them.
Yeah, I'm based in the out of Tulsa, Oklahoma area, and so I'm trying to stick around this general vicinity. I kind of hear an echo in the background. I'm not sure if that's my side or your side.
Everyone else is muted, so you're pretty clear to me. It's very clear.
Okay. But anyway, I don't really do a lot in California. Not that I would be opposed to doing it, but I guess there's been a lot of issues recently with the AB5 bill and all those types of things. So I kind of have stayed away from that area.
Okay. Hey, Deborah, I'm going to mute you right now because I'm talking to a broker friend. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I don't really have a lot to say. I just wanted to kind of join in and listen to your conversation and see what I could learn more than anything.
Yeah. Well, we can. It's interesting that you're a new broker. Now, let me ask you another question too. Are you looking to bring on any broker agents under your brokerage to train them in your way through your TMS system so they can start calling?
No, not really. I mean, I don't feel like it would be a good service for those people because I don't have enough experience myself. I'm still learning, and they'd pretty much be on their own. I don't know what I could contribute to help them out. I think long term, I do want to build my business to where I can bring on some other agents, but I just want to have my feet better underneath of me to do that.
Okay. All right. So now, how would we, as dispatchers who have tons of carriers all over the country, get in contact with you and say, you said Vincent is your name?
Yeah, it's Vincent Lee, Vinson.
Vincent Lee. So how would the National Dispatchers Network, or this network of dispatchers who have carriers that they move freight for, get in contact with you and say, hey, we want to funnel some of our carriers in your direction to see if we can move some of your loads? Is there a way that we can get a hold of you?
Yeah, I can't see your screen or anything. Is there a place that I can put in my email?
Yeah, in the chat. There's a chat. Once you signed in, there's a chat, and I'm sharing my screen.
I don't see your screen. I'm just talking to you on the phone right now.
Okay. Okay. So you're on the phone. So that's why you're not on the screen. So I tell you what, if you say your email, I can just pretty much type it into the group chat and everybody will see it. What's the name of the brokerage and stuff like that, or?
It's my name, Vinson, Vinson .Lee, Lee, at levelfreight.com, Level freight.com.
Okay.
And it's Level Logistics is the name of the business.
Level Logistics. Okay. All right. So we
I
have a
didn't mean to
new.
monopolize your meeting.
No,
I
no.
just wanted to
This
join
is.
in.
We have this. This training is Dispatcher 101. What is your MC? One guy's asking for the MC, so we can.
It's a new MC, 1064628.
Yeah, there's 7 digits now. 10. They went from 6 to 7 digits. So 1064628. I mean 4627.
Yeah. No, 4628.
1064628. All right. Yeah, so we can reach out because we can try to, if you're in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, I'm assuming you have a certain radius that I'm assuming you're trying to stay home and then start within a certain radius around that area within your particular niche, and then you're going to branch out as you continue to grow. So we can come to you if we have trucks that are in there. We might need some backhaul or some line haul for that matter, and we may have a truck that's in your vicinity and say, hey, Vincent, you got something over there? And then, go from there.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And it's mainly it's mainly dry van. You said something about a reefer. Do you do any flatbeds?
I'm starting to get, I don't know, starting to get more opportunities for flatbed freight, but it's not built up right now.
Okay. The easiest
in my area, there's a lot of pipe and stuff to move, and there's a lot of lumber loads and stuff to move with flatbeds. Yeah. So I think that'll be in the very near future.
Yeah, they got the steel fast rebar, basically chain, strap and go, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I worked as a freight agent for several large.
You're breaking up. I don't know if it's my phone or yours.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So level logistics. So now we have a source, a broker source that we can reach out to for loads. Even though you're a new broker, you're still getting loads from shippers. What's the average rate per mile that you're offering to the carriers?
Well, I'll give you an example. So there's one today from Grand Saline, Texas to Midland, Texas. The shipper was offering me a rate that's 399 loaded miles, and
okay.
The shipper was offering a rate of $765, and I was offering it for $700. And the only reason I have to do that is because I factor my stuff as well to make sure to pay the carriers quickly.
Okay.
And so I don't have to, wait for 30, 60, 90 days, just like a carrier doesn't want to wait for their money. It helps with cash flow. If you have a shipper and you're shipping a lot of product per month, it's really easy to get into your pocket $400,000 or $500,000 pretty quickly. And so I did not want to be in that situation, and I wanted to go ahead and make sure to factor so everybody's getting paid in a timely manner.
Smart move. Smart man. Smart man. Very good. Okay. Well, we will definitely. I gotta make a note of that, and I'll probably call you offline and talk to you a little bit more to see where I can what other help input I can provide for you as well from a.
Yeah. So as far as the rate, you were asking about the rate. It wasn't really great. I mean, honestly, it was like $1.75 a mile, but it's in Texas. They do unload 24/7 at a 5% reduction. So they unload from like 8 to 5 normal operating hours. If you got there at 7 o'clock at night and wanted to unload, they would allow you to unload early, but it was going to be 5% reduction, which would have been like $35. But then you'd be empty and ready to pick something up the next morning and get out of there.
Right. That's worth it. That's worth it.
I'm sorry, you broke it again. Yeah.
I was saying that's worth it.
You gotta know, I guess, what your overall cost is. So it could be worth it. It may be worth it just to wait until 8 o'clock in the morning, show up early and unload it, and then start your day that way. I don't know. but it could be.
Okay. Definitely. Definitely. All right, Vincent. Man, you're more than welcome to finish listening in on this training and call from a dispatcher's perspective. And then you're more than welcome to chime in and ask a question or provide some feedback as well. I'm probably going to be calling you offline in this training because I do offer this is dispatcher 101 training for beginners, but I offer also a freight broker 101 training for beginners. You know,
Right.
and since you are a new freight broker.
Well, the reason I called initially, sorry to interrupt you, is I wanted to learn more about the dispatching side of it because I felt like that would be a good way to build relationships with carriers. I'd kind of have some carriers maybe not necessarily in your back pocket, but you've got them available there. And of course, you're not going to double charge them. If you're brokering a load to them, you're not going to charge them a fee for their service as a dispatcher
Correct.
or whatever. But
Correct.
but I would assume that you're able to, as a broker, still dispatch for somebody if you don't have them underneath one of your loads.
Correct.
And I know the big thing right now too for a lot of dispatchers is if they don't have a broker bond and they're trying to reach out to move freight, how that works, I don't know. I'm kind of confused on that. It seems like it's up in the air. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a great area. There's a great area that I've been hearing about, and this MAP 21 thing. If dispatchers, that's why dispatchers, they usually try to get under a dispatcher agreement with the carrier to say, okay, hey, the carrier and the dispatchers agreed. So you call the carrier, you talk to them and say, okay, this is the service I provide. I can find loads for you on the load board. I'll be your administrative person while you focus on driving. So I'll find the loads on the load board or talk to the brokers and or shippers and find the loads, book the loads for you with your MC, and I charge a certain percentage for that service, anywhere between the going rate is right now 5 to 10% dispatching fee for the. So let's say I found a load for I don't know, $2,000. So 10% of that is $200. So a carrier will be like, okay, yeah, you can be my dispatcher. You find me loads, I'll give you 10% of every load that you book for me. Things like that. So that's how it works. So when we call you as a broker, we'll say, okay, I got my carrier. I got a load. I'm looking at one of your loads you posted on the load board, or we may have spoken earlier, and I need to know if that load is still available. Of course, you're going to go through your process and say, okay, what's your MC number? So you're going to vet the carrier. You're going to look them up, make sure they're either set up or not set up with your brokerage. Then once you check your TMS system or your database and it's determined that they're not set up, you're going to say, okay, well, you're not set up with us, but that's no problem. Let me send you my broker carrier agreement. Who do I send that to? So as a dispatcher, I'm the middle person. So I'm like the administrator. So you send it to either my carrier's email or my email, because I'm working the paperwork anyway, that carrier packet. I'll get that filled out for you, send that, and I'll send you, of course, one second. I'll send you, copies of the carrier's W-9, MC authority, and certificate of insurance to make sure everything vets out, because you're going to put that in your system, run it by your compliance team, make sure everything is on the up and up. And if you're going to call me back as the dispatcher and say, hey, everything's a go with your carrier now, and the load is still available, who do I send? I'm going to send this rate confirmation to you so we can go ahead and get this load booked. And then, basically the same process. Now, have you been through that process? Have you booked loads yet with your any carriers?
So my authority has only been active for, I think October 21st of last year. And to be honest, no, I have not.
Okay. But that is the process. That's the process,
still
right?
Getting shippers, right? But shippers are giving me leads, and I'm trying to get them covered. But like I said, as a new brokerage, what you run into is that's only half the battle. because you don't
Right.
have the credit rating or those types of things. So you still have to sell on the carrier side too. So it takes a little while to get traction. And I think a lot of that is just building relationships and being honest with your carriers, letting them know, kind of being more transparent, posting your load amount. But still, even to today, I haven't had any success actually moving a load. And part of that is just timing.
Right.
You know, I hit during the holidays, and then freight is down right now as far as quantities, and so I'm still getting load lists, or I'm still getting loads sent to me that I'm trying to get covered, but it just hasn't connected yet. So it's going to
Now,
happen. I feel like it's happening. I think things are moving forward. I have more opportunities than I have had in the past. So I'm moving in the right direction, and I'm not discouraged or any of those types of things. I feel like I can still learn a lot, and I just want to reach out to other carriers and start building that side of the database as well. So initially, I would have a shipper. They would send me stuff. Then I don't have any carriers in that location. So you have to find a carrier. And so, yes, I would go find out what trucks had posted their trucks in that area. I would give them a call. Some of them won't approve you because they say, you're too new, or we factor and our factoring company won't work with you. So I had to go back to my factoring company and say, hey, listen, this is the objection I'm getting. And then they went ahead and wrote me a letter. That way I could just send it to the carrier, introduce the relationship, say, hey, he's got good credit. He's actually factoring as well, so we can get you paid. It's not a problem. He should be factorable. I would attach that along with the information I would send, including my broker bond and my insurance as well, just so everybody's got all that. And we're exchanging information, right? So I'm getting your authority, your W-9, your insurance information, sending out the broker carrier agreement, letting you know I have broker bond, asking you if you factor, getting a notice of assignment, all those types of things. So I'm still doing all of those parts of the process. But when I have a shipper, they have a load, and I don't have somebody already established in my database to say, hey, you're in this area, we have a relationship already, let's go ahead and do it, I'm getting tripped up because now I'm touching base with them, I'm building that relationship, we're getting it all worked out, they're sending over the broker carrier agreements, everything's filled out finally, and then the load is booked just because it takes that long to get up and going. So the next time, though, if they happen to be in the area and the shipper has a list, then I'll have that carrier available. That way I can go ahead and book that load. So
yes.
That's just where I am right now in my process.
Okay. Now, also too, that shipper's list they're sending you, am I to assume that you're not exclusive? They're sending those email lists out to a lot of brokers, and I'm assuming it's like a first come, first serve, because you have some brokers who are like asset based, who already have carriers in their network, and then you have brokers who have contracted carriers, which is what you're trying to build up. You're trying to build up contracted carriers in your network, right?
It's both, but you got to live off scraps for a little while too, right? So you got to be willing to do some competition with other brokers with those loads that aren't necessarily the best paying freight. That way you can survive long enough to have those contract carriers that you're, moving loads just for them that are higher paying, potentially, et cetera. But it's all about sales on both sides. I mean, building a relationship with those shippers, whether they're small shippers or whether they're large shippers that send out load lists to a lot of other brokers. I can compete with them if I offer a better rate than maybe another broker is on that same load.
Yeah.
So if I'm giving more up to the carrier, then they're going to be more enticed to work with me on my load for the same company. If there's 5 brokers, they all get that same load, and one lists it for $300, less than what they're going to get from the shipper, and one lists it for $250, and the other one lists it for $200, and the other one lists it for, just $50 to try and get, make some money. The carrier is going to be looking at a bunch of different things. They're going to look at, okay, well, I might take this load from the person that's offering it for $300 less than what the shipper's going to give them because they have a better credit rating, they've been in business longer, whatever those happen to be. So I'm still, even though offering a higher rate, having to struggle with, getting carriers that are willing to work with you. So
right.
Anyway,
so
it's just one of those battles.
You can, I tell you what, you can funnel and use this network as leverage to get carriers to come through, and because we have a large Facebook group too, and we could put the word out that we have level logistics, but see, or have an email or a spreadsheet of the types of loads that you have. So once we put it in that network, everybody's going to see it at that point, and they're going to hit me up and say, okay, is this load still available? Is this load still available? Now I say, well, you got to call Vincent. So you're going to get inundated with calls once we get a list, which is probably what you want. So
yeah, well, yeah, I think honestly, I would like to establish relationships, with those carriers before the load is even ready to go. That way, we're not trying to get set up and then trying to get set up so fast that we're missing things. We're not really having any dialogue. We're not building a relationship. And then we've rushed to the process just to try and move the load. And I'd rather build a relationship with those carriers, and then the loads will come because they are already coming, if that makes sense. The loads are starting.
So you want that carrier to already be set up under your brokerage. So when a load comes, all you got to do now is call them. They're already set up. So the next step is just sending them a rate comp.
I would like to. I mean, I'm open to both. I don't mind them giving me a call when I have a load and trying to get it set up and moved. But if we're building relationships, I think that takes a little bit of time. So I'd like to chat with them over the phone and let them know who I am, kind of be transparent with where I'm at in my operation, and that I'm just a newer broker that's trying to grow my business. I'm willing to work with carriers, give you as much as you can of the load because you're the one out there doing the work. But at the same time, it's a lot of work being a broker. I mean, I don't think people know. I've worked for months now without any type of an income. And it's just because you have to go through the business of understanding the industry and then getting set up, and then you have money outgo as far as, all your load boards and the TMS and the CRMs and your phone system and your computer system and the office and whatever else.
Speaking of
so you have a lot of,
Speaking of which, what are you using for the phone system? Ring Central? And then your TMS, are you using like Ascend, eFreight Solutions, Algex? What are you using for TMS?
Yeah, I started out with Ascend TMS. I mean, it's a free TMS, but a lot of times you have to upgrade in order for it to do what you want to do. So you're going to pay
premium
$9 a month or whatever it is. Yeah. So you're going to pay the money in order for it to do everything. But yes, I use Ring Central. I use Ascend TMS. I use Zoho for my mail systems, the CRM and the email systems. And then, internet. You got to have your local internet provider and load boards.
You see, I may be able to also use you on the freight broker training as a freight broker training capacity too. If you have, I'm not saying if you have the time, I know you're busy trying to establish yours, but there's another opportunity there too, because you are a brand new broker. You've already been through the process from the very beginning of what it is to actually effectively set up a brokerage. So now I provide, because there are people out there who are interested in wanting to be brokers. Well, if I have a person that I can reach out to, in addition to the experience that I have, and say, okay, well, here's a gentleman at Level Logistics who has been through what you guys are actually trying to get to, and he can provide you some realistic insight of what it is as opposed to all the fluff about being a brokerage. He can give you the real world experience. Look, this is exactly what it is. Don't expect this or don't expect that. If you want to come into this realm of the brokerage arena, then this is what you need to expect. So, but again, I can talk to you. I can table that for later.
Sure.
Let me see. People you kind of monopolize the thing, which is good. But people are put me in comments and stuff. Does anybody have a comment or question for a broker friend here at Level Logistics?
I'll answer it if I can, but like I said, I'm a new.
Yeah. Somebody said, right, it's a numbers game, says establishes database, Rolodex. Also, too, if you send to my email, I'll give you my email, like a brief bio. I can put that into our network, who you are as far as the brokerage, a bio about you and what you will be able to offer. You're trying to establish the relationships with the carriers, and then you want to build that relationship prior to getting loads, or however your process is. In like a brief bio, we can put that out there, and then of course that's going to hit about a few thousand people, carriers, and then can you imagine if you get at least 10 to 20% of that into your brokerage, you'll have a carrier network in your brokerage, and that'll look very attractive to the shipper now, because they'll see, okay, well, this broker has assets, so.
Well, this is kind of what I think that I can bring to the table too as a broker that's new, is if I'm working with a carrier that's trying to grow their business and they're a new carrier, they don't have a lot of clients. If they tell me kind of the lanes that they want to run and stuff, I can try and get shippers that are specific to where they're located. I don't have to run stuff out of my area just because I'm in this area. I can actually go physically knock on the doors because I'm in this area, so that is helpful, and I'm planning on continuing to do that. But some of the loads that I have are like from places that nobody has loads anyway, like Wyoming back to Texas. And I'm not saying that Texas is a great place to be. I mean, it's not super expensive freight running in and out of Texas, but Midwest overall for flatbed isn't too bad, right?
Right. The Midwest is I use DAT trend lines and the hot markets to see what areas in the country, the truck to load ratio or the load to truck ratios, and then I see what equipment types. So, I do all the research in that to see what's out there, and then
we look at that too. We look at that too, and then the quantity of trucks versus the loads that are in the area and what you're going to have to give. But honestly, I'm telling you, a lot of people think the brokers dictate the rates, and that hasn't been my experience. A lot of times the shipper tells you what they want to move the freight for, and if you want to try and move the freight, as long as trucks are taking it, the only thing I can do is say this is what the shipper's willing to take, and be transparent. I'm willing to try and upsell it. If I post it, if the guy says, hey, I've got this load of salt that I need moved, it's palletized and shrink wrapped, and it's going to be 45,000 pounds or 44,000 pounds, then I can put that on there, show the rate that the shipper is willing to give, and I still won't get calls on it.
Wow. That's interesting, because a lot of people are under the perception that, myself included to a degree, that the brokers, once they get a target, the shipper gives a target rate of what they sell their loads for. And then this is the perception, this is the going perception out here. So say, for example, the shipper gives a target rate of $5,000. Then the broker may take that and take, say, 20% off of that. So $1,000, we sell that load to the.
This is my thought. If they can get 20%, I think they're doing phenomenal. My my thought process based on what I've seen so far is 8 to 10% is realistic. And if you're getting 10% as a dispatcher, you're doing better than I am as a broker. And so it's a matter of just keeping those trucks running. And that's why I wanted to learn more about the dispatching side of the business too, because, honestly, I see it as an easier gig than brokering. I don't know. I mean, as long as you can.
It's a cheaper point. So some people, and this one person said, "Are there any free shippers lists out there?" And then another person just asked, "Ask him where does he post his loads, on DAT or Internet Trust?" I can imagine you post your loads just about everywhere, right?
Primarily, there's some free ones. When you're a new broker, you try and find some free routes. So there's some
right.
Some relatively free ones, and the
there's one
that I have, they've got some on there that are pretty much free to post to. You can do like post everywhere that sends it to quite a bunch of them at the same time.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There was one called Post Everywhere. I used to do it on Post Everywhere, and it would hit like 36 other load boards. You post it once, and it dings about 36 other ones.
Yeah. So then, primarily it's on DAT.
Okay. So you got the DAT power version of DAT. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a couple different levels in there. I don't remember what one I have exactly, but it's one for brokers.
DAT power. I got DAT Truckers. I got Truckers Edge. There's DAT Pro, DAT Truckers Edge, and then DAT Power.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's like the one that's in the middle. I don't know that I spent the $300 a month or whatever it is for the highest level one, because I didn't need it right now.
Right. Someone also asked, this says, are there any free shippers lists out there? I can imagine there are. I haven't done any research myself on free shippers lists, because I've been out of the broker arena for about a year now.
Yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, for people to give up those shipper lists, I don't know. It's one of those things, like, you kind of just have to mine for them and look for them.
Well, you got like Thomas Net, McGray's Blue Book, stuff like that.
Sure.
You know,
there are.
So,
someone else food, was another one. If you watch some of these videos on YouTube, you'll get all of those basic ones. They've been worked over by a ton of different brokers, but there are so many on there that no broker has called all of them. So it's one of those things. You're just going to have to keep calling and talking to a whole bunch of different people if you're trying to find shippers. But that's kind of where the gray area gets a little bit less gray for me, is when if you don't have an MC number and you're calling direct shippers. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but from what I understand from the FMCSA is you can be a bona fide carrier and you can dispatch, but when you do that, that's for like one carrier. And then when you start branching out to a whole bunch of different carriers, I feel like you're almost brokering freight, and you got to kind of be careful. So I don't know how you're structured and that type of thing, but I think that eventually they're going to probably come down on it a little harder.
It's been a great area for such a long time. I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't happened sooner.
Yeah.
So, but
I know it's been talked about a lot more frequently, and I'm coming from the broker side, so I already have the MC set up, and so I'm less worried about it. But at the same time, it's like I don't know if you really can structure it to where you're dispatching and brokering at the same time. That's why I actually called in, is to find that out.
You can.
Something that you really can do.
Yeah, I couldn't see it. I wouldn't see a need to do it that way if you dispatch and broker at the same time, because you have your load on the broker side. You have your loads from your shipper, and you're brokering them to carriers, and then I guess you're taking off your broker hat, and then you're going to go over here and dispatch for these other carriers with whom you're not brokering loads to. I don't know. That's kind of a gray area to me as well.
Here's why it made sense to me. So if I sent a guy that I had a load for that was booked, and I was going to send him somewhere like Midland, Odessa, like we just talked about, there's not a ton of freight coming out of there.
Yeah.
And I would feel bad about just leaving the guy, hey, I've brokered you this load. Now go worry about what you do in the future. And it seems like it would
Right.
make sense if I knew the guy a little bit better. And then, so if I had freight, then I could, pick up in the Dallas area, move it to the Midland area, and then find him something from there, just to keep him moving so he didn't feel like I'm stuck in this crappy area now.
Right. So as a broker, now if I was in your shoes and something in that scenario, but it would take a learning process. As a broker, I want to get to a point where if I'm brokering someone line haul, I also want to broker them back haul as well. I just don't want to send them one way.
But that takes time to set up.
Correct.
But
Correct.
It takes time to set up. So you have to know that you're going to have a load every week going to wherever it happens to be, Sacramento. So if you got a load coming from Tulsa to Sacramento every week, then you can work the Sacramento market and then find a backhaul for them. But it takes a little while to develop that and set it up.
Well, here's another scenario. What if you're set up? I mean, what if you are associated with other brokers? And if so, like someone asked the question, is he associated with other brokers? If so, would he care to tell us a few? Now, I guess the reason for that question is if you have broker friends in the areas that you're going to line haul the carrier to, then you let your guys down there say, hey, broker friend, I got a guy coming your way. Why don't you send him back on the load? You know what I'm saying? And you guys just zigzag back and forth.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, just to be honest, I don't have a ton of those relationships established. I have some, and that's only because I'm newer in the business. So it's something that probably will happen later on, but right now I don't. As a broker, other brokers kind of are competitors, just like other carriers are competitors to other carriers in some ways. In some ways they are, in some ways they're not. If you both are in the same area trying to get that one load that's paying well, then you're a competitor. But if you're on opposite side of the country, then you can kind of say, hey, we're friends. I can kind of help you out.
So now we've been hearing, and I don't know if you know the difference between these two. There's two words that I hear a lot. There's co-brokering and double brokering. Now, are they different or are they one and the same?
No, they're different. So a carrier that accepts a load cannot then hire another carrier to take that load somewhere else. That would be double brokering. So if you as a carrier said, I'm going to pick up this freight from Walmart, you can't hire another carrier to take that freight on and move it for you.
Okay.
That is double brokering. So co-brokering, it's impossible as a broker to double broker loads. So that's why Landstar, a lot of what they do is co-broker. It's in their agreement that they can co-broker anything that they want, really. So they could find a carrier that has posted a load, and they'll go ahead and accept that load from that broker and repost it at a lower rate and make a spread. So that's
co-brokering.
That's co-brokering versus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was interesting. I'm glad you cleared that up because there was some discrepancies and questions about. Because my understanding of co-brokering was that one broker had all the trucks. There was a brokerage with a lot of trucks, and another broker had a bunch of loads.
It's not good practice to take a load from another broker and then, basically purchase a load from a broker. I think that is a gray area that you're talking about.
Okay.
Possibly, and I don't think that's wise. You want to go to the shipper as a broker. You want to go to the shipper and get the load from them, and then offer it up. But say I get the shipper and he has a big oversized load that needs moved. Well, I don't want to just give away my client.
Right.
But this other broker may have the opportunity to be able to, have the relationship with particular carrier that they've used in the past that has certain insurance limits because it's a high value commodity or whatever, and then they could move it. And so we could work together to get that load moved. You know, I'm bringing the client, and they're bringing the resources to make it happen.
Right. That's what I was saying earlier. One broker has the loads, another broker has the equipment type to handle that load.
Yeah.
Kind of like
I mean, honestly, that's the only reason you would co-broker technically. But with as a broker with no assets, you know, because I don't have trucks, so I'm not just trying to keep my trucks busy. I'm out there trying to find freight for truck drivers,
right,
and to post loads and to get them covered as many as possible, and hopefully at some point in time in the future make some type of profit.
Yes.
But you know, right now it's just a lot of work.
Okay.
Which I'm willing to do.
Right. Okay. Man, this has been any other comments for Mr. Vincent Lee of Level Logistics? Robert said another name is called blind shipper or blind carrier. I guess one for the double brokering or co-brokering, I guess it's called blind carrier or blind shipper as well. That's the term.
So what that is basically, from what I understand, is if you have a highly sensitive load, say it's a military base and they don't want you to know what you're moving or where you're moving it to. I mean, there's reasons for that. You know, you don't want some other country to know where you're moving stuff. And so there's a lot of, like, I think it's more military related.
Okay.
You don't want them to know the final destination of that product, or you don't want them to know what they're hauling to begin with. You know, if it was, I'm assuming nuclear or radioactive or something like that, they wouldn't allow you to move it anyway. You know, it's not like you're moving missiles or whatever. But at the same time, if they're moving some heavy piece of equipment or machinery that's going to be important for, or maybe it's software for a Navy ship or something, I don't know.
Right.
They may just have undisclosed locations or not tell you what's going on. Okay.
And so again, to repeat what you have, or you're focusing on dry vans, flatbeds, and reefers. With not quite a niche yet, but those are the major equipment types that you are getting shippers for. And then we can use our dispatch network to see if we can get in some of your lanes to see if we can move some freight.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm open to anybody reaching out to me, and we can start building a relationship and then get everybody set up. That way, when there is freight, I'll reach out and I'll say, hey, where are you guys at? I mean, are you in this area? This is what I have. Or maybe I can start like a mass email list or something. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it, but let everybody know at the same time.
On Facebook, you can reach a lot more quicker on the Facebook Dispatcher 101 group, and we also can add you to the Facebook chat group. Once you join the Dispatcher 101 Facebook group, I can add you to the chat group, and there's where all the networking goes on, in the chat group. So once you start putting in, say, hey, this is Vincent with Level Logistics. I got a load going from here to there. Any carriers, and then you're gonna hear answers instantaneously. People are gonna just be chiming in. So, okay, and then you guys can call each other and talk and go from there. So.
Yeah, I think in order to not have to check like 6 or 7 sources, though, I'll probably have to just put a contact of one place that people can contact me, and then that way I can. Or 2, like if I'm in front of my computer, email and phone probably is the easiest versus having to go into Facebook and all these other places to check everything.
Okay, and that's acceptable as well, definitely. So we got your contact information. I got your email as well. What is it, Vincent? I wrote it. I think I wrote it down. Vincent.lee
at levelfreight.com.
At levelfreight.com. Yep, I'm writing it down.
Yep.
Okay. And then level logistics, got the MC. Okay.
But let's hear from you. I didn't mean to monopolize this.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I was just going over some basic because with dispatchers, we are okay. So the broker is the middleman between the carrier and the shipper. So from a dispatcher's perspective, we look at ourselves as the middle person between the broker and the carrier, because we're providing a service. You're, as a dispatcher, you're providing a service to two people, to the shipper because that's your customer, and also to the carrier because, I mean, you can't satisfy your customer, the shipper, until you get a carrier to move that load for your customer. So you're satisfying two people.
Absolutely.
Now, as the dispatcher, we're in the same boat. We're satisfying, I guess, the broker is our customer because we're getting loads from them for our other customer, the carrier. So, but it's dispatching 101. It's an easy entry point into this transportation industry, the space. I do agree with you somewhat with that gray area, that map 21 is dispatching for more than one. If you could keep one carrier running and maintain a substantial amount of loads for that person, then you're pretty much safe because you're just working with that one person, that bona fide agent for that one person. But then when you start doing it for more than one person, now it's like, okay.
Well, see, it doesn't have to be just one person, from what I understand. It's just one MC. So if you worked with the trucking company as a dispatcher and they had 10 trucks running underneath that one MC, then you can keep all 10 of those trucks running.
Yeah.
But it's when you start getting like 5 individual owner operators and you're running under 5 different MC numbers and you're going to the direct shippers to get freight for those carriers underneath 5 different MC numbers, that's kind of where it gets really, I mean, you're brokering freight.
Right. So now if you're doing that, you're brokering. Say, let's
you're brokering freight without a broker, bond.
Right.
And
right.
or insurance or any of those types of things. And that's where I think it's a no-no. I mean, you shouldn't do that.
Right.
So
now
I would focus on a company that had, as a dispatcher, and I don't know how you guys do it, but I would focus on a company that had like several trucks underneath one MC that it needs a dispatcher that is trying to get, their trucks running as efficiently as possible. And you can dispatch for all 10 of those. It could still be on a percentage basis or, pay per month or week or whatever. Or you could do a salary. I don't know.
So now let me ask you a question. Is there a difference between a dispatcher having, let's say, 3 MCs, 3 different carriers that they're finding loads for? They're not going directly to the shippers, but they're just going to the load boards, finding loads and calling brokers and booking those loads for those 3 different MCs. Is there a difference between that and going directly to the shipper and trying to find those loads for those MCs?
So I've tried to do as much research as possible. I've talked to another freight broker who went directly to the FMCSA, and I can put you in contact with him. I did not do it. He did it. He wrote to them. He got the response.
Okay.
But basically, his response that he received from them was that if you're working for more than one carrier, then you're going to need a broker bond, and you're going to need to be a broker with an MC number. But I don't want to soften the blow, but that's kind of my understanding of it. That's why I think the workaround is to try and find one MC number that you can work on that has several different trucks. Or maybe you try and help that trucking business grow their business, and bring on additional trucks that they can be leased on underneath of that company, work out the insurance agreement and those types of things. I know a lot with the AB5, a lot of carriers that are in California are probably wanting to bounce because they don't know what's going on with that, if they're going to be able to. You're familiar with AB5, right?
Good, correct.
Yeah, so they're going to have to be employees of the company and, all that kind of stuff. Now, recently a judge came out and said that they were going to suspend that, I think, for a while. So I don't know if that's still the case, if they're trying to get out of California or not. But I know it was for a little while. People were kind of nervous.
Yeah.
But anyway, build that trucking company up to where you have more trucks to be able to take care of. I think that would be the more legitimate way of going about
Right.
business.
Right. So, and which makes sense to me. You know, one carrier under a dispatcher agreement, find loads for them, book loads for them, and then at some point, this carrier is going to say, okay, well, is he willing to grow? Is he willing to add to his fleet or not? Or initially, like you said, get a trucking company, maybe 5 or less, or or help that company grow. So yeah, those are the options. But I guess the gray area, the whole quote unquote MAP 21 area is the bona fide agent portion of that is when you have several MCs that you are dispatching for. Now, what you're saying and what your friend said when you spoke to him, whether you are going directly to the shippers doing it as a dispatcher, or you're just doing it as a dispatcher, just finding loads for those different MCs through brokers and load boards and stuff like that. In either case,
how do you make the distinction? How do you make the distinction? Like,
if I'm a dispatcher, I definitely agree with you. I take issue with the other one, but I agree with you and I don't practice this. I'm going to say this, and this is recorded. I do not, as a dispatcher, or when I am dispatching, because I haven't dispatched in a while. I'm more trained, and I work with a larger company now. But when I was dispatching, I did not go directly to shippers to try to get loads for my carriers, because I knew already that was. I mean, I actually read the FMCSA and the rule on that, the transportation, the title. I forget the title number. But Title 49 of CFR 371. Whatever that number was, I read it and I studied it. I said, okay, well, any person in his right mind, of course, definitely as a dispatcher, you definitely will not go in front. And you can't go in front of a shipper, because the shipper is going to ask you for your credentials. So if you, as a dispatcher, and you're going in front of a shipper without credentials, you're going to get shot down right then and there, because in order to get set up with a shipper, you're going to need this stuff. So a shipper will be out of his mind to even give a dispatcher loads,
Yeah, well, just the definition of a broker is like somebody who arranges for the transportation of freight between a shipper and a carrier, And so if you fit in that definition, you almost fit into being a broker. And I know that there is the bona fide carrier or the bona fide agent. That it mentions that, but that's the clarification that the guy I was talking about had asked the FMCSA, and that's when they said if you were working for more than one carrier, then that becomes a problem and you're a broker. If you're working for a single carrier, then that is your business as a bona fide agent for that carrier. You're holding yourself out as being a part of that carrier's company.
Right.
Versus,
so let me ask this question. Let me get your perspective on this. Let me get your perspective on this by asking the question too. Then, how do we explain all these legal entities out here that we call dispatching companies that are doing exactly what this FMCSA Title 49 CFR?
I'm not the person to ask that. I'm not. Honestly, I'm really not, because I'm new and I don't have all the answers. But from what I understand, is that is why it's being looked at again, and people think that there's going to be some type of action somewhere. So I don't know. I just think it's better safe than sorry. If you're going to work with multiple carriers, go ahead and pony up the money and just say you're a broker, and then just do dispatching for multiple carriers, and it's not an issue. Because then if you go bankrupt or insolvent or whatever, then you've got the ability to pay whoever took that load, because you're brokering freight.
Right. So prepare basically it's better to be prepared for what's coming downstream than not to be.
I would think so. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
trying to be better prepared to be a freight broker, and that's why I'm talking about, dispatching with you guys and what that looks like. So
from your perspective, right. From your perspective, it's you want the relationship with the carrier so you can build up your brokerage, build your assets up, build your contract carriers up, so you can move those loads for your customer who's the shipper. I get it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not trying to tell anybody else what to do with their business. They can do whatever
they
want
no.
to. It's their business.
Right.
But that's my understanding, and I feel pretty confident in it. Just because the guy who reached out, it was a question that I had, because I was like, hey, can I do this and this and this? That's why I wanted to get your perspective on, can I broker freight as well as be a dispatcher? Because it seems like I'm almost at a point where I have to make a decision. Do I just broker freight and that's all I do? Or do I also set up a company within my brokerage that becomes a separate entity, yet has a defined relationship that I have a dispatch service and I have a brokerage service, and we're two separate things, although we're underneath the same authority.
So you broker freight, and then you also dispatch for assets that are in your brokerage.
Correct.
So
I don't know. I don't have the idea. Like, I guess it's similar to because I watched a video or two of yours on YouTube, and I kind of have a general premise of how you operate. Setting up the carriers, having a percentage agreement in place, and going out and finding loads or whatever, and helping them, stay running and active, either off the load board or however you do it.
Right.
Anyway,
someone just commented here said, you will need, if you want to do it like that, if you want to have a brokerage and you broker loads for your assets, and then you want to have a trucking company, and you dispatch loads for the trucking side, someone just commented and said you're probably going to need two different authorities. So
yeah, if I had my own trucks, then I would need a carrier authority for sure.
Right.
But what I was talking about was the dispatch side of it, so not actually having any assets.
Right.
So it's almost the opposite side of the coin. I think that's where I was going just a second ago. It's almost the opposite side of the coin of what you're doing, because you're using the carrier authority to be able to book freight. And, I mean, the brokerage authority seems more straightforward. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because you have the ability to go to the shipper and go to the carrier. That's your job. You are the middleman. So since the dispatching part kind of fits into almost exactly the same thing that a broker does, it seems like with the authority, I would still be able to do the dispatching, but can you do both simultaneously? And I know you can't when it comes down to I'm dispatching truck XYZ from XYZ trucking company, and I'm also brokering them that same freight, and I'm charging them twice for brokering and, and for dispatching. I know that's
you cannot do that.
Possible.
Right.
You can.
I have another dispatch. I mean, not another dispatcher, another broker on the other line. This is Elizabeth from PHS Logistics. Elizabeth, we're having just a formal discussion about that particular question. You care to chime in a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know that you can't do that. That's what I was saying. But as far as the dispatch side of things, can you still dispatch without doing the brokerage to those same carriers?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you can do that. So, for example, before I became a freight broker, I was a dispatcher.
Yes.
And I have an entity, PHS Dispatch Services, okay? And I'm very up straight with my clients, with the carriers. So if you're coming to PHS Dispatching Services, right, all I do is look for load for a fee of 10% or more, depending on what you have put. And so I look for your load, and we have that agreement. You sign that agreement because that's your contract, that the carrier understands you are a dispatcher. So in case of anything that happens, like for example, if he carries that load and goes and fall or have an accident, you are not liable for it, okay? Because you were just a dispatcher for it. So yes, you can dispatch it, and what is he paying you? He's paying you for your time for looking for that load, okay? But every other aspect of incidents and all of those things, yes, you make sure that pretty much you're not really doing on the dispatching side, because I hear a lot of people say this, and I think I'm in the room because I've done both of this. I always tell people, if you want to stay in the lane of a dispatcher, you stay in the lane of a dispatcher. If you want to go in the lane of a freight broker agent, you go in the lane of a freight broker agent. If you want to go in from the agent to a broker, you do that, because when you are a broker, there is more liability as compared to a dispatcher. Does that help you on that?
Sure. Yeah, so, it does. But since I'm coming at it from the side of I'm a broker already with already exposure to the liability, and I have the insurances in place to take care of that, would it make more sense to go to dispatching as well, since there's less liability and you are representing the carrier with a different type of contract and they are responsible with their insurances? It seems like it'd be an easier leap to do that than it would be the opposite direction of, going
either or. Okay, if you're already a broker, right? If you're already a broker, I'm a broker. Okay.
Right.
So as a broker, I treat my brokerage separately from my dispatching business. So when I get a carrier, I cannot double broke my carriers. I'll give you an example.
Right. So when you do that, what I was saying, though, is when you do that, do you just decide, okay, I'm not going to charge him the dispatching fee, but I'm going to book him on the brokering load, or you just don't attempt to broker him any business whatsoever?
No, this is what, and it works very well for me because I talk with my lawyer and everything, okay? So, for example, I'm a broker and I'm a dispatcher, but there are two entities. That's why you have PHS Logistics and you have PHS Dispatch, okay? Two different entities. Now, what I go ahead and tell my carrier, because I'm on advantage and they want me, all right, why not? So if I'm going to broker you a load, I charge you for the brokerage. I charge you for the broker. All right. So I'm telling you, this is what I'm going to pay you for this load, because I have the upper hand on that. Right. When we agree, you get the load confirmation for that brokerage. All right. Now, the same carrier, I turn around and say, hey, because I make them sign my both agreements. OK, I don't double charge them. It's not necessary. It's not fair. Business needs to be fair. So when they carry, say, for example, he carries my load from the brokerage load, right, from Virginia to Newport News, right? But he's empty. Yep. I'm a dispatcher. I take a different head of a dispatcher right now. I go on the board and I look for the load and negotiate it with a different broker, right? And backhaul him for 10%.
Okay, so we were just talking about that, Vincent. We were just talking about that. So I think I'm understanding now where both of you coming from. So Vincent, so if I'm a broker and I have a dispatching side like Elizabeth does, so I got one carrier. I broker him a line haul from A to B. I don't have a back haul from him, so I dispatch him on the back haul side with my dispatcher hat. So it's two different things going on there with the same carrier.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was asking, is because I know you can't charge them twice on the same load going in the one direction. But if you were brokering in one direction and then dispatching on the way back, for doing something else, or dispatching in a totally different direction.
Correct.
Yeah, because by law, right? By law, you know already as a broker, when you negotiate, that load is your load, right? Let me explain it in a way, and I'm happy I'm able to do that because I'm saying out of experience. When I post a load as a broker, that's my load, right? I have
Right.
control for that load. As a dispatcher, you don't have no load. It's a broker's load. You cannot make decision on that. You're not even a middleman on that load. So why will you charge a broker fee for something that is not your own? Think about it that way.
No, you wouldn't.
So that's why I charge them
No.
10% of my time finding you that load. You understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we kind of got an understanding when you gave that last example with that one carrier. He's brokered one way and then dispatched on the back call, whether it's coming back or whether it's going somewhere else.
Correct, but I'm just making I'm making him understand that as a broker, right? Because a broker.
No, as a broker, my question was, could I even do that at all? Or like if I brokered that truck at all, can I even dispatch him coming back? That was my question initially.
Yes,
is like
you can by giving him the dispatching agreement form for him to sign so that it covers you.
Right. Okay.
Because if he doesn't sign that form, you're not covered. That
So
is now double coverage.
So it's under two different, like Caesar just said, it's under two different relationships. You got your broker hat on with your MC, et cetera, brokering him one way, same carrier, and then you're done with him. You're done with him once he gets to the receiver, BOL signs it, sends it in, everything. You're done. He doesn't have a backhaul. You put on your dispatching hat because you got a dispatcher agreement with him, and now you dispatch him for 10% or whatever, and you bring him to wherever else he want to go. Maybe if you're smart, you'll dispatch him back to your brokered lane and send him back out again.
There we go. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's kind of what that's why I initially asked the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another thing that
that's why I initially asked the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
ahead.
Okay, another thing I take forward also that it makes it very nice, it's like you are a broker, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what I do, I partner with other brokers. So I'll be like, you have a load, I have a truck, right? I'll be like, hey, this load that you want to move, we have an agreement. Because right now that's what I'm doing with my company. We have an agreement that, okay, this load that you have, if I help you move that load, I get a certain percentage also. We can have an agreement on it. And then I'll go ahead and do that truck for you, okay? And the carrier, because at the end of the day, we are all in one industry. So it has been working because other brokers now are calling me now, hey, Elizabeth, I have this truck, but I don't have this load. Do you have the load? Oh, yeah, I have this load. How much do you want to
Do you have the truck as an asset, though, or do you have the truck as a dispatched truck? Or
a contracted carrier. Is it an asset-based carrier or is it a contract-based carrier? In other words, is it an asset under your brokerage or is it someone you just contracted with, filled out a broker carrier agreement? It's not one of your trucks, or is it someone that just contracted with you? That's what he's asking.
I contract somebody.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this turned into a very interesting training tonight. Thanks for calling in, Vincent.
Yeah, because you see, the dispatcher, we have a lot of advantages when you are a broker, because you can go get the businesses, but even as a freight broker, you also still need that skill as a dispatcher because it's a good lot of work, so why don't get paid on that aspect also?
Yeah, and I get that, and that's why I was kind of asking the question. I feel like it would be a better way to continue and build the relationship with the carriers, to stay in touch with them, to make sure that you know where they're at in the country, and if they're coming back, that way they can take your load that you have, from XYZ shipper that moves these 2 or 3 times a week. You can kind of have an idea where your capacity is coming from. That's initially what I had started off the process of
the reason also
saying, can I
I'm
broker
also
as well as dispatch at the same time?
Correct. And the reason also I'm also part of a brokerage dispatching network, right? It's advantage because there's a whole lot of dispatchers there that they cannot really truly find loads, okay? Or they have not really actually signed the contracts. Some of them, when they finish the training, if they are interested to leave from a dispatching to a freight agent, we are doing that open enrollment for them to help them. Because until you start doing both and have both heart and try to continue to solve the problem, the market is very vast, but I am now also doing a network of freight brokerage so that I can have loads on the east side of the country. You have load on the west side of the country, right? And we all want to move those loads. What if me and you partner, right? And I have network of truck drivers on the west side. Don't you think that would be a good thing for me to partner with you and just get a certain fee for it?
I think in theory it's great. I think that having that no back solicitation agreement is really important at that point in time.
Correct, because that's what I'm doing right now that is different from what I've been hearing, and I talked to Charles about that a lot, where I say that, you know what, because everyone wants to just be in a niche, but even you want to be in a niche, networking is the best thing ever. You as a freight broker, I'm happy to meet you. You might have a load. Yeah. Call me up. Hey, Elizabeth, I have this load, and do you have a truck for that? I can help you find that. And I said, hey, okay, just give me maybe 2% of that or 3%. You understand? And we have an agreement that every time.
I think that's good. I think it's good. You just have to be able to trust whoever you're in business with, and make sure that you both are on the up and up, and that, that takes time. That takes developing the relationship and getting to know one another and trying it out and knowing that, they haven't stolen your customer or, whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy to get customers, and you don't want to just give those up because you are trying to form relationships. But yes, I think it's important to build relationships, to network with people, to continually to grow. And I think in just rubbing iron next to iron, iron sharpens iron type philosophy. You get better at your job and at your skill and your profession, and you learn more and you develop more and you grow more. And that's why I wanted to call and get a dispatching perspective. So maybe, I don't know if you can readjust your topic, or if you had something that I totally railroaded, because I did not want to do that.
No. I usually do an hour and a half to 2 hours, but I've been on here 6 o'clock at 7:30. So, right now we are pretty much winding down. We've got about 20 minutes. We can do Q&A, but Elizabeth, Caesar just said Elizabeth sounds like an awesome working partner. Yes, she is. I've been working with Elizabeth for I can't even remember how long, but
for a long time.
And now you and who knows? You and Vincent, you and Level Logistics may be able to at least talk and see what you guys may have to offer each other.
Definitely.
Well, just being honest, like I said, I'm a newer brokerage, so I don't have a ton to offer. I'm growing. I'm trying to build relationships just like everybody, I think, in this class is, or this, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, class, just to grow their business. And I would like to grow my business and form relationships and talk to people and find more freight and have drivers make more money and get paid detention and truck orders not used and never have to tarp a load.
Yeah, no lumper fees. Those are the worst.
No lumper.
I pulled into a loading dock one time, parked the drive-in, docked the drive-in, and doors 6, I remember, years ago, and had to unload a 53-foot trailer. Now, you know how mad I was?
I bet.
So,
I bet you were mad.
Yeah. So
do you have any thoughts on, like, automated trucking at all? Have you talked about that ever?
I don't know. To some degree, it's effective, like on a straight line. Like if you're on the interstate where there's no other cars, it may work. But you're dealing with drivers out here that pulls in front of trucks. If you talk to any trucker, they'll say this is never going to work. It's never going to replace a real trucker.
I kind of feel that way too. But I saw recently, I guess in California, they did a unmanned automated truck. They just completed it. I don't remember where I saw that. I'd have to Google it and find out. But
the question becomes, how far did that unmanned truck drive? How many turns did it make? Did it dock correctly? You know, all these different things. Did it do exactly what a human being does effectively? Now the other stuff can be handled. Getting out of the truck, checking in with the receiver and the shipper and all that stuff. That stuff can be done internally and digitally. But as far as driving that truck in traffic safely and doing turns and all that stuff, I'm skeptical on that. I'm still not sold on that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen until the truck can do its own pre-trip inspections.
There you go.
Like unless it can do some type of scan on itself and say, okay, I've got a cracked rim or whatever, and I'm about to lose this tire or this ball joint's going out. I don't think they can really do it.
And they're thinking it's going to be more cost effective, but I think it's going to be least cost effective because one reason is because of that maintenance, pre-trip inspections, all this other stuff. So, I don't know.
Well,
I don't think so.
This is my take on this. As a freight broker, because of the technology that we are in, remember that somebody is trying to sell their business idea, right? So what do? If they care, they can bring a truck that is automatic where there's no person into it, right? That's an idea that they're trying to sell. However, they will still need what? A freight broker to be able to do that.
Of course.
And I always tell the truck drivers, don't worry about the thing that is coming, because it's like, if you go back, because I see a lot of drivers, they call me and they try to take a lot of my time for this, okay? And this is how I educate them. In 2 minutes conversation, that's all I give them. I say, sir, you have a truck. If you're a good driver, you will still continue to stay in business. Do you know why? Because I would rather give a human being my load that I understand that will be reliable as compared to give it to a machine. And then I give them the quotation of cell phone. Back in those days when truck drivers started driving the truck, I said, sir, did you have a cell phone? He said, no. I said, okay. Technology gradually pushed you to get cell phone, right? It took time for that to happen, right? He said, yes. I said, why? They're looking for everything that is going to be sufficient and efficient, right? But until then, do your best. And when we get to that bridge, guess what we will do? We will cross it. Some people will accept it. It's like we still have old school today. Some others don't want the latest technology on phone, right? So some people will use the technology, some people will not use it. Some shippers will like the idea, some will not. So don't waste your time worried about the things that are going to come in the technology. It will be there, because we ourselves, are we going to be getting cars that you'll be trusting the car to drive you? Well, we'll have to see that. But for right now, let's continue to make the money. And don't forget, we are entrepreneurs. You know what entrepreneurs do? They solve problems. And if that market is saturated, you look for another business, period. And that's my conversation with them. I'm like, 2 minutes.
I agree too.
Yep. Caesar agrees. Caesar agrees too. Caesar says he loves Elizabeth's perspective. She's awesome. Okay. Okay, guys. Well, we've had a great conversation. Started off with the basics of dispatching, then we got into the broker's perspective, and we kind of broke down whether a dispatcher is crossing the line in the realm of brokering or not. And then also, too, we flipped it and said, well, if you are already a broker with a bond, can you dispatch as well? And we kind of went into that a little bit as well, quoted some FCSA and Title 49 CFR 371C2, I think it is, talking about bona fide agent. So I think we covered some things. Are there any comments or questions by anyone else who's listening in on the call? Robert said...
I think I heard... She said I need to write a book.
Yeah, Robert said she needs to write a book, yeah.
I definitely write. I will do. I promise that I will do. And I heard, I think it was Robert, if I'm not making a mistake, there was a question when I just came in that he was asking that you cannot dispatch more than 3 or 4 trucks or 5 trucks. Is that correct question that I heard when I just came in?
Well, the comment was between Vincent and I is Vincent had a conversation with another party outside of this recording now, and that person told him, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Vincent, that it wouldn't be wise for a dispatcher to, and I agree with having 3 MCs, 3 different carriers going after shippers, because as a dispatcher, you are acting as a broker. But as far as a dispatcher having 3 different MCs, as far as carriers dispatching for 3 different carriers with 3 different MCs, and then finding loads for them strictly with the loaders and the brokers, that's where the gray area is for me, whether or not that's a yes or a no. So,
correct. As a dispatcher, you cannot even contact a shipper. You don't have the authority for it.
That's what I told them. That's what I told them.
Your job is to sign up carriers. That's your job description. So you have to call as many. See, get the flip of it. A broker calls the shipper as many as they can. That's their job. A dispatcher calls as many truck carriers so that as many as they can sign their dispatching agreement form. You can make it a huge business if you have the strength, the resources, and the manpower to do it, to sign up to 10, 20 carriers under your dispatching agreement. And you have to now do what? Dispatch them all. Manage their time, their pickup, their delivery, back order, if you have the strength to do that.
Okay. All right.
But in terms of shippers, a dispatcher cannot call a shipper in any form or shape.
Agreed, 100%. I think we're all in agreement on that. It's just the other side of that coin. I had just a little gray area for me, and I'll continue to get clear. And I know you've talked to tons of lawyers, because I know you got some lawyers on your team, Elizabeth. So
yes, I do.
But until the FMCSA, I guess, gives us a little bit more clarity on it, because like I asked the question before, and I wasn't really directed at Vincent, but I just made the statement to Vincent. If that's the case, why are there so many dispatching companies out here today, right now, if that's such a great area and such a no-no? I would think at this point it would have been like, okay, you guys need to stop this. This is not right, and shut all these dispatching companies down. But because this conversation came up about 3 years ago about what the role and is not, and there was talk and something was going to be done, it didn't happen, and now the same thing is stirring up again, and I'm just curious to see if there's going to be any validity to what's going to happen, and not to say that what Vincent said was incorrect. I'm just saying that this. I've been around this neighborhood before, so I'm just saying I just want to see what's going to happen, you know.
Well, but the question, if you see in the trucking industry, right? You ask a question, why is there so many dispatching industry around right now, right? It's a simple answer. If you look at even on the brokerage side of it, right? When you go back to the TMS, when we look at the TMS, right? you've noticed now that a lot of TMS are even incorporating dispatching keyword. Like example, like the one that you even you shared with me, I think is the easier load, something like that.
Load stop. That's it. Yeah, load stop.
Correct. You notice something that they are incorporating dispatching, because just because you have gotten a load and sell it to the carrier, you still need to dispatch that load to make sure that it goes to the final destination. So we will always need
that's the other half of the
dispatcher.
broker's job.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the other. Vincent said that's the other half of the broker. Because I get when I used to book loads, I would get so many check calls from brokers on as far as the status of the carrier. Like I had one broker call me like every 15 minutes on this one carrier under this. So I get it that brokers are supposed to follow that freight because when it gets picked up from the shipper to it delivers to the receiver. But to call me every 15 minutes, every time he called me, I say he was where he was at 15 minutes ago. There's no point in calling me. You don't need to, as a broker, you don't need to call me when my carrier gets to the shipper to pick that load up. Then I would say about midway point in that route, and then once he gets to the receiver to deliver it. That's good communication. But every 15 minutes, that's ridiculous. And then and also too, in emergencies too, you could call me like if my carrier. That's the whole thing about communication. If my carrier breaks down and get a flat, he calls me. Then I communicate to the broker so he can let his customers know, hey, it's going to be a delay because the carrier has a flat. Roadside assistance is coming out. Whatever. It's just the whole point is communication. But sometimes there's over communication in that process. So these check calls, they need the frequency of the check calls is with some brokers is kind of ridiculous. You don't have to call me every 15 minutes because I'll just give you a crazy answer. Well, he was 15 minutes away where he was from last time you called me. He's 15 miles up the road from that point. It just.
I think the reason that matters so much to people is because there's not a relationship there. Like if your friend called you, you wouldn't mind if he called and checked in and see, hey, what's going on. But because there's not like this bond between this broker and the carrier, and they don't know one another, and they're just like off to the other one, and they're not trying to find them a load coming back or whatever, that relationship breaks down. I mean, it only lasts as long as the load. And so it becomes an annoyance because you're on the phone with your wife or you're trying to listen to a radio station or whatever else. But I think if you have a longer relationship with brokers that you work with on a fairly regular basis, and you have that relationship, then they can call and say, hey, I know you're on an 800-mile run. It's 9 o'clock at night. I'm shutting it down for the night. I'm going to go to bed. Do you need anything before I go? No, everything's good. I'll give you a check call when I'm an hour out from the shipper.
So my question is, is there a standardized interval of time that brokers can do check calls for to the either the dispatcher or directly to the carrier? Because I know on the Raycon they always ask, I need the driver's first and last name, their cell number, and their truck and trailer number. I get that. They want to keep track of the freight. But is there a standardized interval of time, like maybe once an hour or once every 2 hours? But every 15 minutes, I believe, me personally, especially if it's a long haul, that's too frequent. If you're going 1,500 miles.
Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to call me every 15 minutes.
I'll just say that's too much. In my opinion, it's like you said, you want to let them know that, hey, I'm on my way to get the load. You don't want the broker to think, hey, I've got a truck coming at 10 o'clock and I haven't heard from him. Is he going to show up or not? Let him know that you're on the way to shipper to get the load. And then let him know that, hey, I'm loaded. I'm getting ready to get on the road. Then, like you said, halfway down the road, say, I'm almost halfway there, or I'm a little over halfway there, or I'm a couple hours out from the shipper or from the receiver. And then when you get unloaded, just say, I'm unloaded. I'll be sending the bill of lading. And then you don't have to say anything again other than send all your documentation in order to get paid. Send everything to the broker.
Now, what I used to do as a dispatcher, when I was dispatching more frequently, I would do the broker a favor and do that for them. Because I would call my carrier like, look, are you at the shipper? You had to get the load? He'll say, yeah, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I would call the broker and say, yeah, my guy's going to be there. He's about 10 minutes. He's pulling in. And then when he gets loaded, the carrier calls me because the relationship was between me and the carrier. So He called me. I communicated to the broker. That way I wouldn't get bugged or inundated with a lot of check calls. So, but not every dispatcher has that mentality. Especially the new dispatchers coming in. They're not trained to know that. They're going through that first experience. They're going to experience that frequency of check calls, and then they're going to pick up on it later on. But I had to learn that over time as well.
So, can I add something into this whole this conversation?
Yeah.
I see where everybody is going. In a brokerage thing, when your license and your authority is at hand, all right. There's a relationship. I will give a personal experience. First time, I don't know this driver, right? I don't know if he's a thief, because there are plenty of them out there, okay? Don't be fooled.
Yep.
And there are other ones that they're just dishonest. They don't know how to communicate, and even when you tell them, okay, when you get there, tell me, call me and let me know you're on the side. They don't do it. And then call me when you pick up the load and you're about to leave. They don't do it, right? Then, you start looking at irresponsible driver, and that's your first load. Okay,
Yeah.
Your shipper is looking at you because the shipper don't know the carrier. The shipper know but the broker. Your authority is at line. This whole load that this man is carrying, you want to now say, I don't know where this man is, because it looks very unprofessional. So how do I not make it sound too busybody and too annoying? I call my shipper, my carrier the first time. Hey, we have to pick up this load at 3. Give me an ETA time. What time will you be able to be there? Oh, I'll be there about an hour. Okay. When it's about 30 minutes to an hour, I call you again. Hey, how was your drive? Did you get so many traffic, or how was it? Notice something? I've taken the pressure out. Man, I was just driving. This man just passed over me, and now I'm building what? A relationship with him. I wanted to see how his drive was. Did you have a good drive? Was there so many traffic on the road? Man, there's so much traffic, so, okay. Do you think you'll be able to make it on time, or do you want me to buy you time? I want you to be my best driver. Do you see the way so that it doesn't look like, where are you? What time are you going to be there? No, I don't do that. It's communication. They are human beings. They're tired. They have family. They have a lot of things also in their mind. Just like we have the people are on our neck. But the way you approach the people matters.
I agree.
I'm telling you, my drivers, all of them now, when they get my load, because I've been doing that, whether they're even on a load or they are not, I still call them. Hey, how was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend? What did you do? Tell me what you did. I want to know what you did. I sat out, slept all day. I said, oh, did you think about even going to the park with your family? What one? Where are you? Okay, let's find some park. I gave them an idea. Try that restaurant. It's very good. And now they trust me to tell me their personal information. Oh, Miss Elizabeth, I'm going through this whole entire situation. My car breakdown. I don't know what to do. Okay. Do you have a credit card? Okay. Let's put that expenses in there so that when you can be able to make more, when you fix it, we should be able to make more money to be able to reconcile. Really? Yes. See, it all depends. When you don't know your job and you don't know what you're doing, you stand to annoy people. You understand? Like, why are you calling somebody every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes? It doesn't matter, but how you approach them, it really goes. Oh, do you want me? Will you like for me to buy you more time with a shipper? So that you don't look bad, because that's your business. Why? I want to let them know they are in business for themselves. Do unto others what others will do unto you. Because if somebody doesn't trust you, okay, they will not give you that business. So I want you to think about that. Don't call me in the middle of you're supposed to pick up a load, and then your girlfriend, you guys fight onto her. I've got that story. Trust me. I had to talk them out. All right, the girlfriend slapped you. Okay, I got you. I was once supposed in a relationship also, and it sucks. But I got out of it. Hey, can we go make more money so that you know what? Maybe if you buy the girlfriend some flowers, they will not slap you again next time. It's so funny. See? That's it.
Okay.
Communication.
I get it. Any
I can see the other side of it too. I can see the other side of it too, though. Carriers don't want to be pestered, but brokers want to be informed. So the easy solution is the carriers know where they're at. The brokers don't. So if the carrier would just volunteer the information and check in on their schedule, the broker would probably be happy with never having to make a check call.
There you go.
If you called in an hour ahead of time and said, "Hey, I'm on my way to get the load," and then you called when you said you were going to, or 10 minutes before or 5 minutes after, somewhere close, you don't not say, "Hey, I'll be there in 3 hours," and they don't hear from you for 6. That's ridiculous, But
Yeah.
if you
you make them sign
in ahead of time.
what about the what is it called, the marking point? If you don't even want to deal with them in that way, that you just like, if you have a lot of work to do, I make some of them sign the marking point. They sign in so that I track down exactly with the device. It's very good. You say if you're lying to me that you're somewhere in the road, the marking point tell me that you're in your house.
Oh, macro point tracking device.
Yes, the tracking device. It
so
tells
here's
you
the
exactly
way
where
the
you are, your
TMS
location.
works.
Say that
The
again?
TMS has a load tracking. I was just going to say
Yes.
the TMS has a load tracking available in it as well, and it actually
Yes.
just pings a cell phone, so it'll send a ping to your cell phone. All you have to do is click a button saying that you agree to being tracked, and it'll just
Correct.
ping it every so often, and then you never have to check in, and they know more
Where
than
you are.
every 15, 20 minutes or whatever.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, where you're at.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it. This was wonderful. I enjoyed this one. This is wonderful. I got 2 live brokers on the line too. 2 bona fide, not bona fide agents, bona fide brokers. So,
well,
I appreciate
I'm a new broker, so I'm glad to be counted in that category, but I'm still learning. So
yeah, but based on the conversation, see, it's all with me. It's all about words and what's stated, and I can pretty much tell by the conversation what we were talking about is that even though you're new as far as your MC, you have a plethora of knowledge. I'm not sure if you came from a brokerage before as an agent or whatever, but you have some information. So, but yeah, well, that's it for tonight anyway. I usually have.
Thanks for letting me be a part of it. I'm going to just mute myself and let you finish what you want to do.
Okay. All right. Thanks again to Vincent Lee. Vincent.Lee.
I have a question on the brokerage. I have a question on the dispatch.
Okay.
So how do I get, and that question goes to Charles, how do I get, as a new dispatcher, I've just started, I've done your 101 dispatching class, and you train me of like, okay, go to truck stop and call the carriers and then to pitch them to be able to get them to sign for my dispatching agreement. How do I go ahead with the confidence and boldness to be able to get 5 to 7 of these of these carriers? Because one of my greatest challenge that I face as a new dispatcher 101 that I just took your class, right? I face that the drivers can sign the dispatching agreement and say, yes, I want you to dispatch me. But when you find them the load, even though it's a paying load, they are already under another dispatcher. So how do I take that challenge to make that man to win my business?
Well, communication, service, and I understand that the carrier is not exclusive to you as a dispatcher. He can pretty much get loads from any dispatcher. I get that. But over time, and as you deal with different carriers, and you yourself as a dispatcher, once you begin to prove yourself as being a worthy person for a carrier. In other words, if you keep that carrier moving consistently under loads, word of mouth is going to spread, and they're going to say, hey, this dispatcher keeps me running, and it's for a decent amount of freight, and he's always there. He or she is always there when I need them. I can call them. If I'm stuck somewhere, like 1 or 2 in the morning, I need a cheat code so I can pay for a lumper from a broker, I can call my dispatcher. So it's all about the level of service, because this is the type of question that carriers usually ask any dispatcher from the beginning. What can you, as a dispatcher, what type of service can you do different than the tons of other dispatchers out there that are already out there doing the same thing you're doing? What can you do different that can convince me to say, yeah, I want you as my dispatcher as opposed to the other person? So this is what dispatchers need to keep in mind and really think about. So number one is service, of course. You want to be able to communicate, be able to, and number two is knowledge. You need to have a knowledge of the industry and know what equipment type that carrier is under, how to keep them running, and then just be fair with the person, you know, whether it's a male or female carrier. So that's my take on it. And then you take that whole workflow and that whole process and you duplicate it with other carriers in order for you to scale your business as a dispatching service. And I provide that training on this platform from a very basic and beginner's perspective. You take that, build your foundation, and grow from there as a dispatcher. So, all right?
So in the part of where you have actually dispatched them and they were supposed to pay your fee and the carrier didn't pay you, what do you do?
I'm coming to their house and getting my money. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I'll tell you what. I've had an experience where that happened, and the carrier finally paid me. But what I do, I don't deal, because sometimes, you know, you take losses like that, but you just don't deal with that carrier. I took a loss with one load with a carrier that he didn't pay, but then he just went and tried to find loads with other carriers, or he couldn't find a load, and then he got stuck, called up on me and said, hey, I need a load. I'm saying, I can't find your load because you didn't pay for the first load that I found for you. So he ended up paying me for that first load, but I still didn't find him that load after he paid me because I didn't want to go through that same experience again. So sometimes in this industry, you take one step back to take 3 steps forward. So, and then you use that as a teaching tool and a stepping stone to kind of vet out those different carriers. You can kind of feel over time as you get more experience in dispatching, you can kind of feel over time the types of carriers that you're dealing with and whether you want to deal with them. I mean, I don't chase just any carrier. I mean, I do have a vetting process, even though I call carriers and I have the 3 equipment types that I deal with, dry vans, flatbed, and reefers. I still vet them in the sense that whether I want to deal with them or not based off of, you know, certain criteria, you know. And I'm not saying that to say that I'm better than them. I'm just saying that this is the process. I can pretty much tell based off of a conversation with that person that this is a carrier I don't want to deal with because I don't want to. I'm foreseeing that headache coming down the pipeline, and I want to avoid that. Just like with a broker, you guys have vetting procedures that you have with the carriers. You have safety ratings, CSA scores, all this stuff. So if you check that stuff and then you see a person's safety rating is either conditional or unsatisfactory, would you deal with them? You're not going to put yourself through that headache because you already foresee that your shipper is not going to want to deal with that carrier because their safety rating is conditional or unsatisfactory. Well, the same case with the dispatcher and the carrier. You know, there's certain things that we look for in carriers that we don't want to deal with because we see down the pipeline that this is going to be a problem. So it works both ways.
Yeah, but with the broker side of it, we pay the carrier. But on the carrier dispatcher, the carrier pays the dispatcher. The reason I ask that question because I know that there are carriers out there that don't pay their dispatchers. Because I've gone through, personally, when I started, I had a couple of experience on that. And the next step that I took, instead of having that kind of loss after like backhauling you and send you invoice and you don't answer your phone any longer, you don't communicate and all of that, So the next part of it that I did was set up a factory company so that we got somebody in the middle, because definitely you will have to have a factory that will have to pay. When the broker pays that money, it will be able to pay the dispatcher without you
Right.
having liability on that.
Right. So that's an option as a dispatching. As your dispatching company becomes more established.
They can't. The factoring company can't. They have to pay the carrier directly, and then the carrier has to pay you.
There you go.
Because, like you said, you do work for the carrier.
Right.
Correct.
So and there's been a worst case scenario. I've actually seen. I wouldn't do this because I wouldn't want to put anybody's families under stress. But I've seen or I've heard of cases where dispatchers actually went after the carriers instead because they didn't pay them, and all this small claims court stuff. It's not really worth the headache. Like if I charge a carrier 10% of a $2,000 load, that's $200. I'm not going to miss $200. I'll just deal with or not deal with that carrier in the future and just move on to the next carrier, and then just let them worry about not paying the next person, because there is such a thing as called karma. Stuff like that comes back on you. You know, when you mistreat people, that comes back on you. I'm too old. I don't really have time to be chasing carriers and whether they pay me or not. If you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? So, I'll just take it as a loss and move on to the next person and keep it going. I have enough carriers to worry about finding loads for than having to chase one carrier who didn't pay me effectively. Plus, the word is going to spread that carrier is not a good paying carrier. So it's going to eventually hit the right person where it's going to affect them in a way that they wish they didn't do it to begin with. So it's just a matter of time. All right. Elizabeth, I love you as a second mom or older sister. I don't know how to address you. I have to get up to Richmond. Are we ever going to work together or what?
Yeah. We need to meet actually. So.
We actually do.
Can we do it in January?
We are. If believe it or not, guys, we are less than 2 hours apart. I think it's an hour and a half. She's north of me, and we haven't even met yet. Isn't that crazy? Crazy. I think our next training should be live, and she should be sitting right next to me on the. Speaking of which, trainings are Virginia Beach. You can come out to the beach. We can just go down there. Trainings are Wednesday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Sunday mornings, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I may put this video not only in the Dispatcher 101 training video portal in the back office, but also under the Freight Broker 101 portal too, because we talk mainly on the broker side. Even though some dispatchers heard some information that was dispatch related, it was also broker related. So I might as well put the video on both sides. So until next time, Sunday's training, and Sunday's training, I'll continue with the workflow of dispatching, the specific methodology and the process for someone who's a brand new dispatcher, knows very little, if anything, about being a dispatcher, to come in and say, okay, what's the process? Okay, I get a carrier under agreement, I find a load for the carrier, I book that load, I invoice the carrier. So that's high level. But in those high level processes, what are the intricacies and the specifics of each of those high level processes? That's what you need to know as a dispatcher. All right? So until next time, my wife is standing her hand at me. I guess I have to, it's wife time. So, but see you guys Sundays for those of you who will be attending Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard. This recording will be uploaded very shortly. Again, I thank my guests, those both verbally and silent guests who are listening in. But Vincent and Elizabeth, thank you for your input. Very, 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 very valuable. Caesar, Robert, all the others who are in attendance tonight, Jacqueline, thanks for attending. Until Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, I'll be reaching out to Vincent, too, getting some feedback on him on the broker side, some additional information, as well as Elizabeth. All right, guys, I will see you Sunday. Have a safe evening.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot.
All right.